Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a video all about books I am currently obsessed with. I just did a video of all the books you're obsessed with currently at the moment, and there were some really good ones, and I have, I think, only one that is the same as you guys. All the rest of these I've been loving. I have regular contemporary, I have sports romance, I have Why Choose, I have cozy fall. I've been reading all the cozy fall books lately, and it actually, whenever I do these videos, I'm usually inspired by the book I'm currently reading that I just can't stop thinking about, and I was like, I need to talk about it now. I don't want to wait until I'm finished, so I am currently reading If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia, and this book is so good. So I have tried one other Julie Olivia book and I thought it was okay. It was part of her park series where they kind of worked at an amusement park, and I thought it was cute, but this one I had high hopes for because it had all the fall vibes I wanted. It said it was for fans of You've Got Mail and Meg Ryan and Gilmore Girls, and I think that this is one of the few books that actually hits it on the head of actually being a Gilmore Girls book when it is marketed as one, because this one is about our hero who is he's about 30, I think he's 32, because he actually did have a child when he was 16, but he actually got married, and they just got divorced when they turned 30, so he had been married with her for 14 years, and they got divorced because she didn't want the small town life anymore, and they actually had a second child that the wife had wanted pretty much to be I want to fix our marriage, so let's have another baby, and she's 6. So he has a 16-year-old and a 6-year-old. He's a baker. He owns a bakery. Everything about this town is small town. Everybody helps everybody, and the heroine's mom was super into their small town, and she passed away. So the very opening scene is the heroine literally telling her family she got a divorce at her mother's funeral. So she has to go and help run her mother's bed and breakfast until her sister can take over when she graduates from college, and that means she's there for 4 months. So September through December, she has to run this bed and breakfast, and the hero lives next door. He delivers baked goods to her, and it's their romance, and it's so good, and it takes place in the 90s, so it is literally everything nostalgic about fall is in this book, and it takes place during the fall seasons, and it's definitely emotional because he is navigating being a single dad, and his daughter is dating, and then his other daughter is in these weird phases, she's super into wrestling, and he is just trying to juggle also their relationship with their mother, who seems to really only want to be around the younger one, and then falling for the girl next door, and she is leaving soon. So I'm having so much fun. It is giving me every single fall vibe I want. I can't rave about it enough. I posted about it twice on Instagram yesterday because I was like, everybody read it, please. So I am loving it. Another one that I recently read that I also just posted incessantly about because I am absolutely just so obsessed. And I actually went to a fiber festival today, which is a yarn festival where it was just 50 vendors that sold yarn. And I felt like I was the heroine in this book because it is called Close Knit by Kelson Denise Stone. This one is a knitting influencer. Now, I have been knitting for a very, very long time. I learned when I was little, and then in college, I really got into it. I actually started a knitting club at my school, and I kind of miss it. So I actually went online to see if there were any local yarn shops that did knitting clubs, and that led me to finding this fiber festival that was today. So I drove an hour there, spent about an hour there. I was very overwhelmed. There were so many yarn vendors, and I was like, I don't know what I want to buy. So I just got a couple things. It's going to be in my vlog coming next week, but I was just inspired by this heroine because she's a knitting influencer, and she has decided that this year is going to be her yes year. She's going to say yes to everything, get out of her comfort zone. She actually moves to London where I don't remember if it's her mom or her grandmother owns an apartment there. So she gets to move there, and she is literally just an influencer. So but for knitting. So she does live knit alongs once a week, kind of reading sprints where they just knit together, and it just felt very relatable, and I feel like the authors really did a good job of encapsulating what it's like to be an influencer and be online, because I hesitate to read about influencers since I am in that space so heavily, and I feel like a lot of times it's not perfectly done or it's glorified, and there's so much mental health talk in here. So she moves to London, but before that she has a one-night stand at this hotel with this guy, and that's our hero. He's a soccer player. The team that he was on really reminded me of The Rest of the Story by Tal Bauer. He was on a team that was just completely just tearing you down. They were so toxic and just yelled at you and were never nice, and that's what he was used to. And so he definitely is not in a good mental state, and he transfers to another team. One of his quote-unquote friends actually live streamed him in the bathroom in the shower and put that to the public, so his naked body was out there for everybody to see. And he's like, it is so frustrating, the comments he gets and how people don't see him as a victim because he's a man and that happened to him. And so he has just a lot going on. So they have a one-night stand. It's great. He's like, this girl is like unlike anything I've ever like met before. And then they go their separate ways, and then they meet in London, where his team has the apartments in her complex. She's one of the only apartments that is not a soccer team complex because her family member owned her apartment, but the soccer team bought up the rest. So he is living by her, and she ends up knitting with his teammates. They start this charity together for someone who works for the soccer team, and the hero is having a really hard time opening up to his teammates, feeling like he belongs with them, getting out of his head. And so it is a lot of talk of mental health, which I really, really loved in here. And their romance is just adorable. Like, she goes to his soccer games, she wears his jersey, and I loved it. I'm someone who loves soccer though, and I feel like I loved it more because I love knitting. Like, I love crocheting and knitting, and I just like love this heroine so much, and I love the concept of this book so much, and I feel like they really delivered on it. So if you also love really great mental health awareness, I would highly recommend reading this book, and it is so good. So good. I loved it. Okay, so then I read this last month, and I was obsessed, and I already have book 2 that I need to get to, but That Is So Wrong by Albie Millsaps. This is a Why Choose Romance with a stepbrother and his best friend and the stepsister. So the hero and heroine, it flashes between the past and the present, so you know something happened that drove her away. She has not been into town for years. She's been living in Europe, and now she's back and living with her stepbrother. And we flash to the past where in high school they met and they fell in love before they knew their parents had fallen in love. So they did not know they were going to be step-siblings. So they're really in love with each other, and his best friend is also in love with her. So in the present day, she's living with her ex/stepbrother, and then his best friend has to move in with them because he is injured and his mother is psychotic, and they're like, you can't live with your mom. I think he plays football or something. They move him in with them, and they have to take care of him, and it is a relationship all three together, and it is so good. It's definitely just like very character driven, but I was just really into these characters. And a fourth mysterious person shows up that is from her time in Europe, and you're like, who are you? And I guess there's gonna be 4 guys total though, so I think she's not done introducing people into this why choose scenario. So I really love this. Highly recommend. Then I was shocked, but I should not be shocked because I've loved every book by this author, but The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson. I listened to this entire audiobook in one day. I was obsessed. It's a hockey romance, and the hero, he is going through a really hard time, and so he decides to transfer back to the hockey team. That is where his hometown is, and that is where the heroine is because her brother is his best friend who's also on that same hockey team. So she is a baker, and she is on this, like, not a reality show, but like kind of like a newscast show for baking. She's like has a segment on it, and it's not doing well, and so her job is threatened. And she's like, well, listen, I do know some hockey players, like let me see if I can like get some on the show because my brother's a hockey player. He's injured right now, but she goes to the team and asks them, and they send her brother's best friend, who she's been in love with since she was young. But there's like I want to say like a 6-year age gap, so if she's like 12, he's 18. Like, it was never okay for them to be together because it was just weird. Now though, they're like at the same point in their lives where like a relationship could make sense, and so she's been crushing him forever. He never reciprocated because age gap, and now he sees her kind of in a different light, and he has to fix his reputation because of what happened with his ex and other things with his parents. And so they're like, you go on the show, and they have such good chemistry that they're like, you need to fake date for us because this is doing great for both of your reputations. So then they fake date and obviously fall in love, and it is so good. I love this so much. I could not put it down, and I really love the brother in here too. Like, it could have been very cliche of like the brother finding out that his best friend and sister are dating, but it wasn't, and I really loved his character in here, and this book, so good. Audiobook, highly recommend. Then I have 2 more fall romances before I get to my other 2. So the next one, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I really, really enjoyed this one. I know this is like the quintessential fall romance that you're gonna see everybody online talking about all over TikTok, all over Instagram. It's in the top charts on Amazon again. I have not yet read book 2. Book 2 is a Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. It looks so cute. I have not gotten to reading that one yet, but I read this one around the end of August when I was just like, I need everything fall. So I read this one and I gave it 4 stars. It was adorable, and I think that if you really want a fall book, you have to read this. I will forever recommend this as the perfect fall romance. So the heroine has inherited this cafe from her aunt. I always forget like what relative they inherit it from. So she's inherited this cafe and she thinks something spooky is happening in the alley. And so the hero is like the produce guy, and he like delivers produce around town, and he ends up helping her like try to figure out what this weird thing is in the back alley. And it is their romance, and it is her kind of being integrated into the small town. He's very jaded when it comes to the small town because he had fallen in love with someone who ended up leaving, and so he is like, why do I even bother? And so the whole town knows though, and it is just so cute. So many like fall moments in here. Very small town. There is a little bit of a mystery because someone is sabotaging the cafe, but it was not done well. So like, do not go in here if you are a fan of cozy mysteries. I've been dabbling in cozies. This was not it. So don't feel like you're gonna be impressed by this mystery. But it was very cute. It definitely got spicy at the end too, so I had so much fun reading this. And if you love this one though, you have to read Take It or Leave It by Laini Hatcher. This is another one that's very fall, and it actually takes place on an apple farm. The heroine is new in town. She is from somewhere in the north, I think it might be Michigan, and she does not have a great home life, and so she really wants to get away. She's a graphic designer specifically for book covers, and she decides to go to this town that she saw on this list of like best places to go for fall. So she visits this town and they immediately welcome her with open arms. She is staying at this kind of creepy bed and breakfast, and she's like, I don't know how much I can stay here longer. So I think she's the owner of the cafe, possibly is his mom, or somehow his mom tells her she can stay at one of their cabins on their property. And so she is staying there, and he is working for his parents' apple farm. And he used to be a really great baseball player. He actually was going into the majors and injured himself like one of his first games. So his dream just came crashing down. He feels like he's really stifled because like everybody wants to talk about the glory days, and he can never really escape his failure and be reminded of what happened. So he's very grumpy in that sense, and he kind of feels like stuck in the small town. And so he's very intrigued by her though, and she works at this cafe. She's usually like on the porch, and he has an adorable dog that really loves her, and it is their romance, and it is so cute, and so many fall things happen in here as well. A perfect fall romance. Outsider falling in love with someone in the small town, and I loved it. And the last one I have, everybody's obsessed with this, and it was in my video of what everyone's obsessed with right now, and that is Wild Eyes. I love this, and I think it deserves all the hype and all the talk that people say about this book, and I will not stop talking about Elsie Silver because this series is so good. It is a whole series of single dad romances, and in this one, the hero is a single dad. He's divorced. He has a really great relationship with his wife. She is remarried, and they split time with the kids. He is such an interesting character because he's someone who thrives on being around people, so he actually does not like when his kids aren't there. He's like, I don't know what to do with myself. He's like, what is my point? Like, what am I doing with my life? And he runs a ranch, and I guess I don't know if you would call it a ranch. He helps like rehabilitate horses and like tame horses and stuff like that. So he works a lot with animals, and it's like really great for his kind of personality too, because he's always like has a lot of energy to get out, right? And he likes to do things. And so the heroine is a famous country singer, and she shows up at his best friend's record studio, who is also his sister's boyfriend now, who had book one. She shows up because she has a horrible experience as a country singer. She feels like her parents just see her as a career and not as a person, and she wants to make something for herself. So she shows up, and they're like, great, but like we have construction going on, and like our accommodations aren't ready to like host people yet. That's their goal. So she's like, oh, it's fine. And they're like, hey, why don't you stay at the ranch at their like bunkhouse? So she does, and she gets really close with his kids. His kids are the best, and it's their romance, and they have a lot of insecurities that they share with each other, and I just connected so much with our heroine and how she was feeling about certain things in life, and it was just so good. The romance is so good. The town is so amazing. The characters are amazing. The dad bowling league is amazing. Like, Elsie Silver just creates the most amazing characters and stories, and I just loved this, so please read it. And those are all the books that I'm currently absolutely obsessed with. Let me know if you've read these and what your thoughts were, or if you have any books that you're like, you have to read right now because you're going to be obsessed with them. I would love to hear. If you have made it this far, leave me a ball of yarn emoji because I am super in the knitting mood and I loved close knit. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.